You know how sometimes a book hits at exactly the right time and then somehow manages to ruin every other book like it? That was really the September House for me. It was one of my favorite reads from spooky season 2024 and apparently my most viewed short. So clearly, I am not the only one who loves a haunted mortgage. And I've been trying to get some spooky content out between teaching, grading, and pretending my own house isn't haunted by unfinished projects. So I thought, why not chase the ghost I already know? I'm Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and today, if you loved the September House as much as I did, or if you're just haunted by your Zillow search history, I've got 5 books that are going to scratch that same eerie but yet domestic itch. So let's start with a quick reminder of The September House by Carissa Orlando. It's the story of Margaret and Hal, a couple who finally find their dream home, a gorgeous old Victorian that they can actually afford. The catch? It's haunted, and every September the walls are going to bleed and the ghosts are going to scream, and Margaret does what any of us would do in this particular housing market. She scrubs the walls, turns up the volume, and keeps paying the mortgage. What makes it brilliant isn't just the hauntings, it's the underlying ache of wanting something permanent in a world where everything, marriages, finances, even foundations, crack. It's a story about what you're willing to live with just to call a place your own, and about how home can be comfort as well as captivity, just all at once. And that's the thread running through today's entire lineup. Each of these 5 books coming up takes that same idea, the dream of home, the illusion of safety, and shows what happens when the house, or the past inside of it, refuses to behave. So grab your flashlight, check the basement for weird stains, and let's move into the haunted house together. Our first stop is going to be The Grip of It by Jacques Jemk, a book that proves marriage is the real horror story, and drywall is not to be trusted. Julie and James buy their dream house, but immediately realize the walls are alive. There's a noise under the floorboards, like someone humming through a drain pipe, stains that move, bruises that appear on skin, and a forest that seems to be inching closer each and every day. But the haunting here isn't blood and guts. It's intimacy rot. It's the kind that grows quietly in the corners of a relationship. Jemp rates like Shirley Jackson after couples therapy. It's claustrophobic, it's eerie, but also deeply domestic. Each chapter alternates between Julie and James, so you're never sure if the house is haunted or if the marriage is. This is literary horror that works by suggestion. Every paragraph feels slightly out of alignment, like the door frame you swear used to be straight. And while some readers may want a cleaner ending, I kinda love that it refuses to give you one. Because really, what's more haunting than uncertainty? So, if The September House was about the cost of staying, The Grip of It is about what happens when you realize the rot might be coming from inside of the marriage. And if your house ever starts humming, maybe don't try to harmonize. Next up, Slade House by David Mitchell. A book that feels a bit like stepping into a dream and realizing you're not the one who's dreaming. Every 9 years, a tiny black door appears in a London alleyway. Behind it, Slade House. Big, beautiful, impossible, and absolutely not supposed to exist. Each time that door opens, someone new wanders in. A lonely kid, a bitter cop, a shy college student, and every single one of them disappears. Mitchell spins this story across decades, each chapter a self-contained haunting that slowly reveals the same pair of predators feeding on their guests' souls to stay immortal. It's elegant and eerie, like The Haunting of Hill House with a touch of Doctor Who chaos. Now, you don't need to read the bone clocks first, though if you have, you'll catch the connective tissue. But this one stands perfectly on its own. It's brisk, it's creepy, and has that autumn afternoon energy. Just a little melancholy, a little magic, and a big dose of "don't go through the door." Now, if the grip of it is about relationships collapsing inward, Slade House is about time collapsing altogether. It's what happens when a house eats its own history and then invites you in for tea. So yes, read it in October, or maybe November. Just keep the lights on. And if a door appears in a brick wall where there wasn't one before, don't be polite. Just walk away. And then there's The Family Plot by Sherry Priest, which I lovingly describe as HGTV's Salvage Dogs meets The Conjuring. Dahlia and her salvage crew head to Chattanooga to strip an old Victorian for parts, mantles, fixtures, everything they can resell to save their struggling business. But the minute they roll onto the property, the house starts throwing shade, both literally and figuratively. There's a hidden graveyard out back, mysterious figures out windows, and a family history that does not appreciate being flipped for profit. Priest makes the house a character. It's angry, it's watchful, and fully aware that these intruders have come to dismantle it piece by piece. The tension builds beautifully. Blue-collar exhaustion, family grudges, and that creeping sense that something wants them to stay. But what I love is the matter-of-fact attitude toward ghosts. Dahlia doesn't doubt them. She just works around them like they're an occupational hazard. And that pragmatic acceptance makes the horror hit just a bit harder. It's not about disbelief. It's about respect for what lingers. This book is eerie, fast-paced, and full of Southern bite. If The September House asked what we'll tolerate for a home, The Family Plot asks what we'll destroy for a paycheck. And honestly, I'd watch this entire thing as a limited series. Half ghost story, half workplace drama, all bad decisions and safety goggles. If The Family Plot is ghosts are an occupational hazard, The Invited flips the script. Why buy a haunted house when you can build one? Helen and Nate leave the city for Vermont to start fresh. 44 acres, a bog, and a dream floor plan held together by twine optimism and some seriously questionable judgment. Helen's a history teacher, which means she's both sentimental and susceptible to cursed antiques. She starts collecting reclaimed materials with, let's call it spiritual provenance. A beam from a lynching tree, bricks from a factory fire, a necklace with bad vibes baked in. Go thrifting, queen. Every item she installs comes preloaded with unfinished business. Meanwhile, their teen neighbor Olive is on her own ghost hunt. Her mom's gone missing, and the adults around her are giving "we don't talk about that" energy. So she's sneaking through the woods, digging for treasure, and definitely not staying out of trouble. McMahon weaves it all together. Ghosts, grief, generational trauma, into a story that's as compassionate as it is creepy. The spirits here, they aren't villains, they're historians. They're simply showing you what you refuse to see. So no, not horror in the traditional sense. No jump scares, just slow, bone-deep unease. It's about the stories that cling to a place, and somehow that real danger isn't the ghost in the hallway, but the human next door. So no, probably won't terrify you, but it will leave you thinking about the objects you keep and whether or not they might be keeping you back. So here's my cranky takeaway. Thrift your cabinets, not your curses. We buy those new. If The Invited is a DIY haunting, The Supernatural Enhancements is a puzzle box with a mortgage. A man only known as A inherits Axton House, a sprawling Virginia estate with a nasty family tradition. Every heir jumps out the same window at the same age. He moves in with Niamh, his 17-year-old Irish companion who's a punk rock pianist who can't speak but can absolutely throw shade down on paper. And what follows is part ghost story, part conspiracy, part escape room. A and Niamh start unraveling secret codes, hidden rooms, cryptic letters, and a cult that might be meeting in their basement. It's told entirely through found documents, letters, diary entries, surveillance transcripts. It kind of feels like you've stumbled into someone else's archive. Think House of Leaves, except funnier and far more readable. And really, the format is half the joy. You get EVP recordings, journal fragments, and notes that feel like Blair Witch found footage, if the Blair Witch had a better sense of humor. The haunting here, it's cerebral. It's about pattern seeking and paranoia. What happens when you start to believe the house is testing your intelligence as much as your sanity? Is it scary? Not really. But it's clever, it's propulsive, and deeply weird in the best way. So if September House was about living with ghosts, Axton House is about trying to outsmart them. Now, some houses, they need a contractor. This one needs a cryptanalyst and maybe a priest on retainer. So there you have it. 5 haunted homes, 5 different ways to regret your down payment. And from the quiet dread of the grip of it to the looming nightmare of Slade House, the cursed inheritance of the family plot, the DIY haunting of the invited, and the cryptographic chaos of the supernatural enhancements, each one proves that homeownership might actually be the scariest genre of all. Because every haunted house story starts the same way. A dream of peace, privacy, and maybe just a little bit more closet space. And every time someone else's history says, well, actually, we were here first. Maybe that's why these stories stick with me, because they're not just about ghosts. They're about the cost of performance. What we build, what we inherit, and what refuses to leave, even after the paperwork clears. So, tell me, are you the stay and redecorate type or the burn it down and rent forever type? And which of these books would you actually move into knowing what you know now? Anyway, happy spooky season. I appreciate you. I hope life is good.